Solana or Ethereum, which has more potential? And which crypto narratives are likely to yield the most gains? What about meme coins and airdrops? Where should you be looking? Well, this is all recently covered in an interview I did with a DeFi analyst from a crypto research firm. So if you want the answer to any of those questions, then this is a vid you can't afford to miss. Oh, and at the end of the interview, he reveals his top 3 crypto predictions, including some L1 alpha of a crypto that may have been flying under your radar. So don't go anywhere. Hello guys, and welcome to another interview here on Coin Bureau Clips. And today I'm being joined by David Zimmerman. He is the DeFi analyst over at K33 Research, and he writes for the Navigating Narratives column. So David, welcome to Coin Bureau.
Thanks a lot. Thanks. I'm delighted to be here. It's crazy. I used to watch your videos all the time, and now I'm actually here talking to you.
No, it's great. You've progressed right now, and now we want to get your perspectives as well. So, guys, before we dive into the interview, I want to give you a bit of a quick overview on K33. In case you don't know, they're a crypto research firm that does institutional grade research reports, which is available to retail. They've got, I'll leave a link in the below so you can sign up to their subscription. And I've been following them for at least 3 years. Navigating Narratives is a recent start, about 6 or 7 months ago. And it's really interesting. And you also, if you are a Coin Bureau Club subscriber, obviously you'll get a 50% discount on K33 subscriptions. So that's also in the description for you guys. And before we kick off, just of course want to let you guys know, nothing in here is financial or investment advice, and please consult your investment advisor before making any financial decisions. Okay, so let's kick right off, David. And I think with the first question, pivoting from that, you write for, your column is called Navigating Narratives. So let's start off there. What narratives are you most excited for, or do you think have the most potential in this cycle, and why? Crypto narratives.
Well, I think I can answer that pretty precisely. I think, in my view, AI, gaming, and to a certain extent, meme coins will be 3 big narratives of this cycle. When it comes to AI, it's everywhere now, of course. I think we can see the impact it's having on the real world and Web 2. And crypto is always very hungry for new narratives, right? And the newer it is, the better. The more untapped it is, the better. And AI, like I said, I think it's 25 billion market cap at the moment, according to CoinGecko. And if you put things into perspective, you have, in last cycle, Axie Infinity, the extremely popular GameFi project, went to over 10 billion market cap. So even though there's been a lot of noise about AI lately, and we're having this interview on a day where there's a bit of blood in the market, so we may be at some kind of local top at the moment, but over the coming months, throughout this cycle, I think AI is going to be one of the big ones that moves. And there's a lot of room, even though it may not seem like it, because we've been hearing nothing but AI for the last year in both our regular lives and in our crypto lives, and from our non-crypto friends and our crypto friends.
Yeah,
it's everywhere. But I think that theme is going to continue. I'm quite confident. And then with GameFi would be another major one. I think we saw what it did last cycle, and I think this cycle will be no different, if not even more, even crazier. I think one of the big differences between last cycle and this cycle for GameFi, because of course, like I said, it's not quite as new and fresh as AI, but when it comes to GameFi, last cycle we were really focused. Well, the market was really focused on this play to earn model, and the idea was that projects were really promising that you could play this game, it'd be fun, you could make a living. And we got into some very murky waters in terms of what these projects were really supposed to be about. And you could argue that was at the most kind of cynical part of the cycle in terms of the types of projects that were coming out. Big difference here, though, this time around, is that we are actually making games that are fun and people are playing, and they're also reaching the mainstream. I mean, I think you might be familiar that I'm quite bullish on Prime, so Echelon Prime and Parallel TCG, the trading card game.
Yeah.
And that's on Steam. That's getting more and more mainstream attention. That's getting attention from people coming from Web2 gaming who initially weren't aware that this trading card game was crypto related. They just get in because it looks cool.
Yeah.
Lots of people are playing it, and that's a major differentiator. So that's in one. I tend to try and avoid the phrase "this time is different" because I think that's a dangerous thing to say.
Yeah.
But the difference and the improvements are so stark. They're very very clear in somewhere in a sector like GameFi. So that's something I'm definitely bullish on coming months. And also meme coins. I mean, you can't to I would separate meme coins from everything else and just kind of treat them for what they are, and that is like a pure social token that people like to cheerlead, and it's kind of like a barometer of how crazy things are getting in the market.
Yeah.
Then you can do pretty well to time local tops based on how crazy meme coins are going. And in fact, like I said, we're talking now in the midst of a, I don't know, like 15-20% pullback area for Bitcoin. And I mean, only a few days ago, we had we had guys, they really got through. Yeah,
surf one guy 24 hours and he burns his own, and he burned his own LP tokens. Yeah.
People in the market were so eager for gains, they sent 10 million to a contract, which is just a smart contract, in order to get this pre-sale. And sure enough, the guy who was in control of that 10 mil plus managed to burn it all because maybe not as experienced as other devs out there. But so that's I think we'll see more things like that in the future. I don't think that's going anywhere.
Yes, the year 1964 has begun, and to commemorate the new year, we asked some young people how they think the future will look in 60 years' time. What will the world be like in the year 2024?
There'll be so many people that they'll have to have an overflow into the sea.
I think whenever we have a question, we'll just ask a computer and it will tell us the answer.
Everyone will have their own flying car and they'll just be flying around all over the place.
Or I may be at the funeral of a computer.
I don't think there'll be politicians or anything like that. I think there'll be monkeys and they'll be in charge.
Yes, I think the Coin Bureau deals page will be the place where all the best deals in crypto can be found. No doubt about it. It'll be absolutely fantastic.
Because there'll be more cures for the diseases and not so many people will get sick.
Anyone who's got any sense will store their money on their own hardware device where no one will be able to get it. And they'll use the Coin Bureau deals page to get the best discounts on those devices.
All dogs and cats will probably be robots by then, and you won't have to take them to the vet or anything, really.
I think when you sign up to an exchange on the Coin Bureau deals page, you'll get discounts on trading fees of up to 60%. It'll be lovely.
So, there you have it. The year 2024 is going to be quite incredible by all accounts. The future's bright. The future's Coin Bureau.
There's nothing you can do to stop it.
Yeah, I think those are top tier narratives for sure. And I have a few follow-up questions on that. So I think coming back to the AI one, I guess, how much of the AI hype in crypto is as a beta play on AI stocks or the AI whole concept of AI, right? So a lot of the AI companies that are raising now that are getting a lot of hype, are not publicly traded, so people can't really trade the AI hype apart from if they go and buy something like Nvidia, right, which is just hardware. But obviously, it's easy to go and buy cryptocurrencies and tokens that are associated with a project that leverages AI. So I guess how much of it do you think is that the AI projects themselves in crypto are actually developing tech that is, going to actually benefit from the AI narrative, and how much of it is retail just thinking, oh, it's got a nice fancy AI wrapper, I want to buy it, I want to get exposure to AI?
Honestly, I think it's the latter. I'm no engineer, so I can't really comment deeply on the tech that's being developed. But I think, I don't think you could really compare the projects that are being developed in Web3 to the projects or the companies that are being built in Web2. And just to put a disclaimer out there, like I try to compartmentalize my mind when I approach crypto, and especially when it comes to something like AI, because because in Web 2, that stuff, a lot of that stuff that's being built right now is going to have like a massive impact on our world. I think it's going to be one of the main drivers of like labor productivity over the next decade plus. And that's going to obviously have a massive impact on stock market, on our real economy, on everything, right? But so when it comes to crypto, I try to compartmentalize my mind between being maybe too skeptical and just thinking like a lot of this stuff isn't going anywhere. What the hell's going on?
Yeah.
Some of this stuff is ridiculous. And then I try and have another part of my mind that is just like, well, look, this is where the money is flowing. We're in this market, in the mid-low cap market, to navigate our way through narratives. And if this is where the market wants to go, then that's fine. And I'm more than happy to just go along with where the money's flowing.
At the end of the day, man, if the goal is to make returns on tokens, I mean, you go where the money's flowing, right? I mean, the tech question is a completely different other one.
I think, I mean, I'll put it this, I tend to think that Tau, BitTensor, which I think everyone would be familiar with, I tend to think they probably are working on something good. And I only say that because some of the smartest guys that I know personally are very bullish on that. And that's not traders, that's developers and engineers. And so, and these are guys that have never traded altcoins. They're not into, like, you want to take your tech advice from the guys that never trade. You never want to take trading advice from the guys that are engineering and stuff like that. And then it's the opposite, it's vice versa for the
that's true, yeah, 100%. Sometimes you can trade, speaking of that, like trading meme coins and whatnot, there is no tech there. There is no, and it's just a meme, right? It's just hype, and it's just momentum, right?
Yeah,
and,
exactly.
So you can't really. And speaking of meme coins, obviously narrative, right? It is true. I guess an interesting question here is, like, some people, I can see where you line up on this. Some people view, say, meme coins, hey, they're a joke to crypto. They basically make a mockery of it. People can go and, for instance, example, a guy goes and raises 24 hours, raises millions and millions, and on a Twitter ICO for a meme of a slurf, whereas project teams are out there building like hardcore projects. They in the weeds. They're in the trenches trying to raise funding through their seed and all this kind of stuff, and it's a mockery of crypto. So I'm curious as to, like, but then also on the other side of that coin, I've spoken to people who've said, like, okay, well, meme coins, that VCs are considering investing in meme coins. L1 ecosystems are delegating funds to meme coin development because meme coins don't only drive excitement within buying pressure, but also demand to use the network, right? And network stats are what drives value for a lot of the L1s and bootstraps value. So I guess, where do you ideologically align? I mean, I know you're thinking about the narratives perspective, but if you were to put yourself ideologically, how do you view meme coins?
I think, like, the thing that really interests me about crypto, the thing that really got me into crypto, was that it's a free market in the purest sense. I mean, I was first introduced to it by a guy who was in my monetary economics class in 2013. I was presenting on like Friedrich von Hayek. He had a theory of competing monies, like private monies, and that money as a market should be, like, anyone should be able to participate. Like, the government shouldn't have a monopoly on money. And there's a guy presenting on Bitcoin, and he, to my detriment, I did not get involved in Bitcoin in 2013, just to be clear. But he showed me that, and he said, this is like the purest form of free market money. And I didn't really get it at the time, but over the last few years, and what we've seen with monetary policy, where governments are going now, more in the last 3-4 years, like, I think the case for free market money, which is what I think Bitcoin is incredibly, incredibly strong. And now when it comes to meme coins, I think that's just a side effect that you have to accept. It's just something you have to accept as part of a free market. I think we'll never get rid of greed. And I think that's fundamentally what meme coins are about. They're about momentum. They're about people thinking, oh, it'll go up another 10x, it'll go up another 10x. And that you're just kind of seeing the greed in the market. I mean, like we said just now, some people were sending $10 million to a Sol address. It's not as if It's not as if it was tied up in anything that you can actually control or verify. And so, yeah, that's really what it comes down to. I think my heart weeps sometimes when I see how hard some of the teams are working to build like really good tech. And I think throughout 2022, more towards the back end of 2022, you had lots of teams working on really cool stuff. And that's really the common feature, right? It's like the bear market, you have the tech is really getting developed because the only people sticking around are the people who actually care about this stuff and want to actually build a better future in many ways. And though for one thing, those are the types of things you want to be buying in a bear market because those are the first things to really come out strong. But as we progress on, we've been, I guess pretty much up only for over a year now. I mean, a few pullbacks, sure, but I mean, for the most part, it's been up and up. And now we're back at the stage now where greed is really kicking in. And yes, it is. I wouldn't say I'm a massive fan of meme coins, but I think it's a feature of the market, and it's something that, I don't think we'll ever get rid of in crypto. I wish things were a little bit different, but at the same time, I think it's almost endearing to me. I think it reminds me that I'm operating in the best market in the world, and I'm more than happy to take it as it is.
Yeah, it's the animal spirits will be let go, and the permissionless nature of cryptocurrency. Anyone can do what they want, and everyone's free to make decisions with their own money. And even if it's bad decisions, it's their freedom and right to do that. So, anyways, moving on. Then I think that was a bit of a tangent, but I think moving on to the next question, I want to get your sense on. Obviously, can also fit within the narrative's perspective in terms of L1 ecosystem. So I'm curious as to what layer ones you're most bullish on for this cycle.
Well, I think it's the easy answer now, but Solana would have been, or still is, my main L1. I think there's so many to choose from. To be honest, I'd like to tell you that I had like a really good reason for picking Solana over anything else. But fundamentally, all it was is that I just used the different chains, and Solana is the one that I had the best user experience on. And if it's the one with the best user experience and also the lowest fees, I mean, with activity on it, then I just figured, look, this is the one I'm going to back. And if you're looking at which app retail will be more likely to use, I think they're not coming in to do $100 plus transactions on ETH layer 1. That's not to say I don't think ETH has its time in the sun. I think markets move both ways. So Sol ETH, like, while it's certainly, I think it's hitting new highs now actually, but I mean, it goes back and forth. It goes back and forth. So, but Solana, like I said, would be the main one, only because I've had the best user experience. I know I may be biased because I was using it throughout the bear market and I managed to get some airdrops as a result.
Okay, So you pick up a Saga phone or
no?
Okay.
I should have. I definitely should have. I should have scooped up some Solana phones. But
did you get any bonk or bonk airdrops, Dupe, any of these? You did some farming.
Yeah, it was. I was active on Dupe. I was trading a lot there, a lot of limit orders, put in some good volume there. So there was that, and there's another one. I can't remember right now, but in any case, that can influence. Sorry.
Was it Juno
it was. That's the one. So it's been good with Solana. It's been good to me. It's been good to me. So I think as long as it can keep up the momentum it has, I think it was green for the last few days while market was red. And that's always a good indicator if the coin can be strong even in bad conditions. So
that's true. Yeah, I think that Solana's got one of the best UXs right now, right? I mean, we can have debates about the tech. I mean, there may be other L1s who could have slightly better tech, and there could be questions around decentralization and all that kind of stuff. But when it comes to UX and onboarding new users, and most people now, I was listening to a podcast the other day, like they haven't heard necessarily of MetaMask because they haven't interacted with ETH yet. They've just an Ethereum. They've just gone straight for Phantom on Solana, which is so if you're talking about a narrative to get retail in, UX and UX is very important, and Solana meets that. So yeah, I think that you got a good point there, man. But obviously, you said in terms of UXs, right? now Solana is obviously part of the UX is obviously very low fees, and you compare it slightly with Ethereum, that gas fees is very high. But now, obviously, just this week we had Denkun, right? And
Yeah.
L2 fees have fallen massively. It's on Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
So like in some cases like Starknet, like 99% or something. So I guess the question is, do you think that L2s on Ethereum could challenge the likes of Solana and other highly performant L1s, or do you think that because they kind of like the liquidity is spread between different L2 projects, and it's not one monolithic blockchain? What's your view on that?
You kind of you touched on it there towards the end. I think it's still the main issue is the fragmentation of liquidity and how frustrating it is just not to be able to execute based on which DApp or which pool you want to access, based on where your funds are on which L2 they're located. So that's one of the main great features of Solana. Is not only is the UX great in general in terms of like low fees, but it's all there in one package. And I think it's attracted so much attention and hype right now that, I mean, if you want to leave the technicals and the UX aside, as we know in crypto, you don't necessarily need there doesn't necessarily need to be a good reason for something to pump on any given day or week or month or throughout the year. So I think the market has chosen Sol as its winner, and I'm pretty confident in staying with that. However, if like I said, I'm not a Solana maxi, and I'm not really interested in defending any particular project. I'm not going to die on any particular hill. So if ETH Layer2s, if they can really come up with proper scaling solutions, I mean, they have these updates coming, but I still need to see it to believe it is really what I'm trying to say. I need to see the activity picking up, and I need to see when people are flooding in and transactions are going up through the roof, and there's really some strain on the system that the system's maintained. Now you might say, well, Solana goes down all the time. I'm like, sure, that happens. But still, I think I'd still need to see the activity and fees staying low and UX being improved in terms of liquidity fragmentation on ETH Layer2s.
Okay, man. Yeah. Well, Solana almost had a full year without down.
Almost.
almost like a few days away. So almost. Maybe this year it'll be a full year. You should actually also maybe do a bit of DeFi digging in AVAX and Avalanche as well. It's pretty. It's also got a really good UX in terms of.
I have a soft spot for Avalanche actually. I think. I mean, from last cycle, the kind of Avalanche season was tremendous. And I think one of my favorite kind of projects, we were talking about GameFi projects that were not necessarily sustainable. I don't know if you remember Krabata. It pretty much took over it pretty much took over the whole Avalanche system. So much so that this is when they were first coming out with subnets. And I mean, I maybe don't want to say too much here. This is more really just my opinion, but it looked like they were getting pushed out to a subnet in rapid pace because the transactions were just through the roof. The game was getting botted because it was, I mean, this sounds maybe a bit cynical, but like it was farming with extra steps. So it was really prime operating territory for guys that are smart enough to set up good bots and really squeeze it for everything there was.
Yeah, no, that's true. Well, I think now it's a bit different the space in terms of like gaming and Avalanche with some of these subnets. Like you've mentioned GameFi and some of the games that people enjoy playing and gamers would enjoy playing. Like
I should
Off the Grid,
Shrapnel.
These games are crazy, man. Like really.
I should have actually continued on my point to mention that it is a different landscape now. To be clear, and so. I'm quite optimistic on Avalanche, but I think I'm conscious of the fact that my tendency is because I'm so immersed in crypto, like I'm full time and I'm looking at so many different things every day that, like, frankly, I want to buy like 1,000 of these things that I come across. Like there's so many cool things going on, and so when I say I'm sticking with Sol, it's just like I have to pick something. I'm not interested in spreading out across everything I'm bullish on. I just have to pick something.
I totally get it, man. The problem is there's so much. Yeah, exactly. You use your attention span, like, you got to kid in a candy store with crypto sometimes, especially
Yeah,
just like
yeah,
in
yeah,
depth in crypto. It's like, oh,
absolutely.
this cool. Oh, you want to this new project, and this airdrop, and it's like you if the problem with that is like he who chases two rabbits catches none. So
That's exactly it.
yeah. But coming back to ecosystems then, and I read this I think it was 2 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, you did a pretty cool one on Cosmos, right? Some Cosmos ecosystem plays, and you obviously mentioned Neutron and Kujira, which we were very interested in. I mean, I dug into Kujira a bit more, and it's a really exciting project, and I think it really has potential when it comes from the perspective of, to be a next injective, so to speak. What other, because there's a lot of projects on Cosmos right now, and I think Cosmos is popping off in terms of like, it's kind of like a Cosmos summer, leading up into the altcoin summer. What other projects building on Cosmos and within the Cosmos ecosystem are you kind of excited about?
I think the things I did write about Kujira and Neutron, but I think it's tough to say to pick something that I'm particularly optimistic on. There are a couple of things going on along with Thorchain. I don't know if you saw this.
I did read.
Cacao and Lens. Those are two things I'd be interested in the coming cycle. I think I try to refrain from like kind of pure DeFi projects at this stage. Like Lens would be one that you could think of it as a bit like Aave on Thorchain kind of thing. But I just can't help but be super bullish on Rune. I think on Thorchain more generally. I think the team, like when a project has survived through a bear market, survived through hacks, to come back this year to be hitting all-time high volumes, and they're building out to solve one of the major issues in crypto, which is this like liquidity fragmentation, the proper cross-chain access through your wallets. So that I just can't help be bullish on projects that have proven themselves, and then projects that are building in that same space that are fresh, new, and solve real issues. That would be it.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Thorchain's, we need permissionless cross-chain liquidity protocols. We've covered Thorchain quite a few times on the Coin Bureau, even back in, the 2020 cycle. And I think that the one thing that and this is back to the narratives point around DeFi, you didn't mention DeFi in the beginning, and we also don't think necessarily DeFi has got the most potential for the narrative this cycle. And this is just because from a regulatory perspective, right? So obviously, there's DeFi, the SEC, and the politicians in the DC, they want to make sure, they want to try and limit the ability for people to using a permissionless protocol, trade and things like that, and they want to institute things like mandatory KYC if you operate some sort of DEX. And so, do you think that this regulatory uncertainty around DeFi could limit the potential of growth for that narrative, that play? That's
I tend to think. Yeah, I tend to think so. I think it's just not something. If there are other sectors in crypto that also have momentum as money is flowing in, there's just no need to be holding that kind of risk, that risk that is so much greater within like pure DeFi projects than it is with like something like GameFi, or Memecoins or anything of that nature. So there's that, and also I find that, I mean, at this stage in the cycle, we're not early, right? And like I said, it's those DeFi projects that are building through the bear that are really building something strong. They come out strong in the beginning, and then as we progress through, the fundamentals and the real tech matters less and less. And so where if I'm imagining, like, for instance, my friends coming into crypto, if there's going to be a new wave of price agnostic retail coming into the market, they're going to be drawn to the things that are simple and they understand, and they're not necessarily like, if you tell your friend that, oh well, I have this amazing omni-chain cross-chain swap. It's going to solve liquidity fragmentation across L2s, and because that's the major issue in with Ethereum right now. If you say that, or if you say, oh, dude, I have this really cool game and it's also crypto related, and it's on Coinbase, the app that, is the typical retail favorite, and you can just go ahead and buy it within a minute or two. I think that's, if I'm imagining where the money is flowing, it seems much more likely.
Yeah, no, I agree. And you mentioned airdrops. You obviously mentioned that you've done some farming of airdrops earlier, especially on Solana. And I'm curious to get your perspective on airdrops, obviously, and your view on what they view. So some people view airdrops like just as a way to gamify the system. And, it's just, it's also risky in terms of the SEC around farming points and things like that. And others think it's a great way for you to actually bootstrap that liquidity and get people incentivized to actually use your protocol or your dApp whilst it's scaling in testnet. But there has been some controversy also around recent airdrops, like Starknet and Juno, I think. I mean, so what's your view on it, like in airdrops in general?
I love airdrops. I like getting money falling from the sky for free. But honestly, I think it's one of the great. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think it's one of the great things of crypto, great features of crypto. And I think as we go along, like you said, I mean, DeFi is getting more and more scrutinized by regulators, and I think airdrops are clearly a part of that. Are going to be coming under that scrutiny as well. I think it's again one of those features of crypto that makes crypto, and as long as we can keep that going, the longer we can keep that going, the better. I hope it continues, because I think it's one of the things that will draw in new users the most. I think every friend that has come to me to ask me, what's the sensible thing to do? Like, what do I buy? Like, I hear people are getting $500 for doing nothing, and then they're super stoked about the idea of just like, oh, if I remain active on this platform, then I can end up actually owning part of the platform. That's a really cool idea, and so I hope that kind of can continue, because I think that's what can get a lot of new people into the community and help this industry grow. So that's more or less all I have to say on airdrops. Yeah. But I like you said, I think it becomes, we start getting into a gray area the more regulations that come in. Will that result in maybe some teams just deciding to locate elsewhere in the world, and what kind of impact that might have on users and where activity is actually picking up in crypto? I don't know, but
yeah, I tend to agree with you. I think that it's very few times in history have you had an opportunity where people could literally just click a few buttons, deploy some liquidity here or there, create some wallets and interact with the protocol, and then they just get free money. I mean, I remember back in 2020 when the first one was obviously Uniswap, right? And I remember getting the Uniswap airdrop and the Uni airdrop. I was like, what? You must be kidding. Is this real? So yeah, it's true. I mean, at the end of the day, look, and these projects are always going to try and improve on the way they think about distribution and think about.
I should have touched on that actually. Of course, the big issue is like sibling and like people just running the whole airdrop campaign or points campaign into the ground. I think that's, again, it's one of those things. It's part of the free market. I don't think there's a whole lot you can really do to minimize it. But having said that, like I said, any given person can still get themselves a sizable allocation based on their activity if it's properly designed. So
yeah, not like the guy who got like $3,000 for doing a spell check on a Starknet, an GitHub commit. Saw that it was pretty crazy. So I'm curious. You mentioned narratives, and again, I'm coming back to another narrative. But I'm raising this because you obviously did talk about a few of these projects in another column you did a few weeks ago, and that's DePin. So I'm curious as to what your view is on DePin in this cycle, and what sort of projects you're particularly interested in, and where you think DePin can go.
I think DePin has a big future only because it's one of the narratives that I don't think has had a proper run yet. I think there are lots of great projects building out there, but it hasn't quite caught the zeitgeist. I think we may be in a little bit of trouble with regard to that because like I said, we're moving so quickly throughout this cycle that it may just be difficult to kind of draw attention back to projects that are building out real tech. Like one of the things I wrote about that I'm quite bullish on is Aleph. So they're building out. They're involved in, so they have their hands in so many different pies. I mean, they started out with many like exclusive partnerships with gaming studios. They're building out real infrastructure because if you really want to say that you're a decentralized application, if you're a decentralized protocol, then you can't really be relying on centralized elements to actually run the whole operation, right? So I am bullish on DePin, but like I said, I think I'm kind of weighing up. It's if I had to kind of categorize or tier narratives based on how hot I think they can run at this stage. Like I said, I would have like AI, GameFi, and Memecoins up top. DePin, it hasn't had a proper run yet, so I think there can be like a good flow, a good rush in there. It could be as simple as the projects in DePin that are catering particularly towards, let's say, AI projects. Those particular DePin projects may end up doing better. But like I said, it's iffy. We're going through the cycle so quickly. Bitcoin has reached an all-time high before the halving, which is kind of uncharted territory. So, like I said, if the projects building real tech throughout the bear tend to do best in the beginning, and as we go on, attention drops off to the stuff that's just kind of purely momentum and narrative driven. I don't know. It's close, but having said that, I would have DePin exposure, so you can take that for what it is.
I tend to agree. The cycle has come very quickly, and this means people are you got to. But then this comes back to another question I have, and that is so obviously Bitcoin reached its all-time high before the halving, and obviously some altcoins have popped off a lot, but this we can still say is not the full-blown altcoin season that people have seen in previous markets, right? Where Bitcoin dominance starts falling and you see alts doing, even like some of the top L1s doing like, Solana still below its previous all-time high, Cardano, a lot of these other L1s. So obviously the altcoin season, I think, is still coming. But then the question to you is, and, Vetla said, when I spoke to Vetla, the other K33 analyst, he said, this is something that I should be asking you. So I'm asking you now, is when alt season?
The classic question. Honestly, I think you could argue that if you're in the right alts, it started in Q3, Q4 of last year. But having said that, that's it's always easier. It's easy to say that in hindsight. But if we get that like full blown alt season where the altcoin market cap is making new highs and it's just the things that go up 10x end up going another 10x. That kind of thing. I mean, I honestly think it has to happen very soon, or else I think we are in uncharted territory. I wouldn't. At this stage, we're getting this. The new Bitcoin typically when it makes this new all-time high has a pullback. Where you could also argue it's the like pre-halving or entering the halving pullback. And then from that point on, when you're really drawing in that retail attention, I mean, I don't know about you and in your own life, but I'm definitely getting more and more questions from my non-crypto friends about crypto. And so that's,
top signals.
I mean,
Grandma, which meme coin should I buy? Please tell me which dog is the best for me.
So I think that's it by definition. It's like you have the new, like a new wave coming in. And we're only seeing that now. And so if it's not going to happen in the next few months, which is what I'm anticipating, then I don't know, we're in uncharted territory. So
Fair point.
That's I'm expecting things. Like I said, I try to avoid the phrase "this time is different," and if we say that this time is not different, then this would be around the time when altcoins really start picking up. Post a little bit of a correction, because we have been going up quite aggressively in the most recent months.
So then you would probably say the answer then more likely would be after halving alt season potentially.
Yeah, I would say that. But like I said, I wouldn't, or well, I haven't said this yet, but I wouldn't be too concerned about timing it perfectly. I think everybody gets really hung up on nailing bottoms and nailing tops, and like that's just not how it works. I mean, if you scroll through crypto Twitter, it can seem like everybody's just nailing every narrative and nailing every bottom, and they sold the Pico top every single time. But in reality, you need to have a bit of humility and just get your spot exposure. I think most people listening to this are going to have good spot exposure. So if you have that and you hold through what is historically been the period when alts do the best, then there's not much else to it. There really isn't. It's not. There's no real alpha out there, in terms of what's going to happen or predicting the future. It's just going through the cycle.
Yeah, that's true. I in terms of predicting the altcoin cycle this time, I would like to get your perspective on the extent of it compared to previous altcoin cycles. And this is something that I touched on with Bettler as well, and I've talked to quite a few people about, and that is because the drivers of Bitcoin and the crypto markets this cycle, at least on the Bitcoin side, are ETFs and all that, and that's driving a lot of the Bitcoin dominance and the Bitcoin market cap as well, that the altcoin season we're likely to see this cycle would be less, extensive and from a return perspective in relation to Bitcoin than previous cycles, because the people who can't necessarily rotate out of their Bitcoin, the ETF buyers can't rotate out of their Bitcoin into altcoins. Is what usually happens when altcoins, pivot from the rotation from the Bitcoin into altcoins. So do you think that thesis makes sense, or do you think that we're still going to see these crazy altcoins where the Bitcoin dominance crashes and
I think we'll still see a good crazy alt season. I think that is a valid point, though. Like, obviously, not as much money will be spilling over because so much of the money that has come in, certainly the money that's bidding up Bitcoin, is like real institutional money in going into regulated products that are like separate from the on-chain ecosystem and whatnot. But I still think it's, like I said, I always try to avoid the phrase "this time is different," and if we're already seeing some crazy things. Like, if you need a barometer for like how much risk appetite there is in the market, like I said, like we were talking about earlier, people are sending millions of dollars to a Sol address, and if people are willing to do that, I think that's all the indication you need as to what the future holds. Like, I remember even in 2022 at the end of it, when we had all of the mayhem that happened in 2022 and all the people that got carried out, I thought that that was a time when I saw the largest number of people that I know were like full-time crypto, convinced of crypto's future. That was the time when I saw the morale at its lowest, people completely dejected, and I thought at that time, whoa, it's going to take so long for us to get more risk appetite in the market, because these people are like truly depressed. I haven't seen it quite like this before. And sure enough, 2023, the yearly open, the low was in January, and ever since then, it's just
came those. All we needed was one or two banking crises and a big bang to fail, and people realize, hey, wait a second, my money isn't really safe.
Something to this.
Yeah,
exactly.
Those USDC reserves aren't safe either.
Yeah, indeed. Yeah, in fact, that was the inflection point for me personally. I said, I'm not going to be claiming I was like going all in at the bottom. Like, as soon as FTX collapsed, I was like all in.
Yeah.
I wasn't. I was like thinking about, oh God, where is this all going to go? Yeah. But I was at that point. I think Bitcoin went to, I want to say like 25-ish, and then there was a pullback with the USDC situation. It touched maybe 19, 20, and then like it was straight back up. And the whether you want to view it as a narrative or not, the banking crisis and like the Bitcoin coming into its own, that kind of narrative got going. And yeah, ever since then, it's been up only. So
cool, man. Yeah. Up only. So let's just quickly. I want to get your 3 top predictions for the rest of the year for 2024.
Okay. Let me think for one moment. Okay. Solana goes.
Okay, yeah.
I say Solana goes. Sol ETH goes to newer highs. No, I'm actually not going to give like price predictions. I'm not typically not.
That's a risky one. That's a risky one. Yeah. The price predictions are always. YouTubers learn that as well.
It's yeah. Well, okay. I'll go this way. Okay, AI becomes one of the top sectors in crypto and goes to like well over 500 billion market cap. I would say that.
Okay.
That's maybe a bit bold, but that's what I would say. And then what do we have? I'd say a crypto game is so fun that people are playing it ubiquitously and they don't even know that they're playing a crypto game. I would say that. Cool. So what I'm actually saying there is we get one breakthrough game that is so good that it helps merge the world of Web 2 and Web 3 gaming. And then third, that's tough. I will make it in some kind of prediction in relation to meme coins. I think, let's say Whiff and Pepe go to a greater market cap than Doge and Chib. That the two new kids on the block overtake the old guard. Okay. I mean, I'm not going it all in based on that particular thesis, but that's something I could totally see happening.
And BlackRock launches a Whiff ETF, maybe.
Yeah. We all know that's the path of every crypto now is to get an ETF approval. So
if they get that sponsorship on the Vegas Sphere, or if they manage to get that through, then maybe the next new gold, the dog standard.
Yeah, exactly.
yeah. So David, one last question just to finish off on. Obviously, we've been talking all this time about crypto, but I'm curious, to hear more about you and your day, because obviously you're passionate about crypto. You've been in the space for quite some time, and what is a typical day in the life of David Zimmerman as a crypto research analyst? Like, how do you structure it? What resources do you use to conduct your research? And how does it look?
Well, it's not a whole lot different from what my life was like just before, because I am like a true crypto native. I was actually playing poker for years before I got into crypto full time. So my day in poker was just playing poker all day. And then as I started getting more and more interested in crypto, I just took the time I was playing poker to start focusing on crypto. And so that really all it comes down to is, it's like I said, there's no real alpha out there. It's just sitting at my computer after my breakfast, getting my opening up, literally like token terminal, CoinGecko, DeFi Llama, all the resources the tools that are open to everyone, I think everyone uses. And then the secret recipe is just being chronically online, just being nonstop and going through all the tools and websites I mentioned, as well as Discords, Twitter, of course. I mean, like we all know crypto lives on Twitter, Telegram. So that's really all there is to it. I think that's my average day. And then it's kind of funny because like I write a weekly article, and like we all know crypto moves so quickly that like I might have an article idea on like Thursday or something, and by the time Monday or Tuesday rolls around, the whole thing has played out in like hyper quick time.
Man, try and do YouTube videos that have a 2 week
That's the thing.
timeline.
I don't know how you guys do it. I don't know how you guys do it. There's no.
It's a challenge, man. It's a challenge.
It is.
Yeah.
Well, and it's not my merit, so like I'm happy to do it, but it's crazy. Like crypto just moving. I mean, if you log off crypto and you come back like a week later, let's say, it's a whole new landscape.
Two
Like
days
everything's
later,
changed.
bro. 2 days
It's
later.
mad. It's
Sometimes
mad.
it's like
It's crazy.
you get withdrawal symptoms. Sometimes it's like, damn.
Yeah, you do. You
Which
do.
which is the indication that you probably do need a holiday more than anything if it's become
Indeed.
addictive.
Indeed.
But yeah, thanks, David. This has been a really interesting conversation, and really appreciate you coming on. I mean, you obviously have the next column going out tomorrow. Is there any sort of inside alpha we can get? I'll probably be out by the time this video goes out, but is any inside alpha on what it's going to be on?
I'll just tease it now. It's basically the premise is that everyone's focused on Sol going up, and I'm bullish on Sol. To me, it's my kind of preferred L1, if you like. But BNB has been making just as impressive a run since the Binance settlement, and there's more and more activity picking up on Binance Smart Chain as a result. And there's one kind of interesting thing that I've noticed in crypto. I don't know if you've noticed the same, but like there's a separation a bit of like Western crypto communities and Eastern crypto communities,
100%,
and I find that like the East are really big on BSC, like kind of for obvious reasons, but they're heavily involved. The West crypto communities, they essentially faded BSC or like BNB Smart Chain last cycle. Like they only got involved very late. The same as Luna. I think like Luna was already massive in the in the East before people knew who Do Kwon was. And so I think we're seeing kind of, at least I'm seeing like a similar kind of trend now, such that BNB is making new highs, is closer to new all-time high than Sol, but receiving far less attention in the Western circles. And by the same token, so to speak, BSC is picking up activity, the new stuff launching there, and so it's something to pay attention to. So, yeah.
Cool. Yeah, that's the inside alpha on BNB, guys.
Indeed.
Cool. Well, I can't wait to read that. And so thanks again, David. This has been a great conversation. Hopefully, we can have you on again soon. And keep the flag flying there at K33 on their DeFi research. And have a great rest of the week, man.
Absolutely, you too. And thanks so much for having me on. It's been a blast.
Well, I really hope you enjoyed that interview, guys, but I'd love to get your feedback. So let me know, which crypto narrative are you most bullish on for this cycle? And what's your view on Memecoins? Yay or nay? Let me know in those comments down below. And of course, if you guys enjoyed this video, please fire up those likes and subscribe. And of course, ping that bell as well, so YouTube can give you a bell as well the next time another video hits the tube. Until next time, guys, it's Nick checking out.